this is Gasakma Keperu for Project Illuminated, and today I want to talk to you about how language determines your success in life. Now, most of us speak English here in the United States, the King's English, and it's probably one of the worst bastardized languages that you could communicate with, because our ancient ancestors, the ancient Kemetic Egyptian people, or most people on the African continent, had a very powerful language system in and of itself, because this language system understood and was incorporated into the science of how the spirit worked. And what do I mean by this? Well, language commands your subconscious mind, or what our ancestors called the spirit, to perform certain actions. If your belief system and the way you're communicating on a day-to-day basis are not in line or working in tandem, it will counteract anything that you want to achieve in life. So, for example, I've always preached that how meditation, going within, going in the alternate state of consciousness, trance state, through meditation, or even like hypnotherapy, that works. And because it's reaching deep into the subconscious mind. And that's really how you affect change in your life. It's through the automatic responses, or the autonomic nerve system that enables you to react and not have to consciously think about what you're doing. However, the problem is that when you are planting that seed within the subconscious mind, that was symbolized by the goddess Aset, or Isis, and she gave birth to Heru, which symbolizes the will. When you're planting that seed, that baby that's within is aborted, because basically you are not nurturing that baby or that seed to grow, that embryo, because the day-to-day language you communicate with betrays the intention that was planted in the subconscious mind. I can go and meditate all I want, but on a day-to-day basis, if I am saying to people and communicating to people in a language pattern or form things that contradict what I have been trying to achieve in life, then it's not going to work, because there has to be that clear alignment. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? This is why language is so important. Now, with that understanding, I'm going to take things a step further. Our ancestors created a language pattern that had within it, the way we spoke had certain harmonic, they had certain frequencies or tonalities that were vibratory, that were vibrations. So when we said certain words, those words were certain vowels or certain letters were emphasized to create a vibrational tone. And that vibrational tone tuned us into certain energies. This is why people who arbitrarily name their sons and daughters these really crazy names don't understand the power of how words, names determines your destiny and determines your future, and can make or break your success. All right, so we have to keep that in mind, because that's very paramount. So not only that, but the way we communicated was structured in ancient times in a certain way, to basically be casting, or to cast spells in the communication and patterns of the language. We're always casting certain spells. This is why the ancient Egyptian people had different ways of writing, whether it be hieroglyphic, hieratic. They understood that there were certain times and certain instances that call for a specific type of communication. So when the ancient Egyptologists were reading the hieroglyphics, a lot of times they refer to it as like spell 104, spell 1903, because they saw that the ancient Egyptians, in the way they were communicating, were casting these spells. So that is the way the language was set up, because it integrated the conscious and the subconscious mind, and understood that you weren't just talking about things, but you were communicating your intention. When you communicate to people in the outside world, you are not just carrying over words, so that other people can hear and interpret what you're saying, but you are commanding your spirit to perform a certain action. You're telling your spirit, this is what I want, and your spirit has to obey. The problem is that when you think you believe something and you say, I can, and then you talk about, well, I don't know. Well, that's a contradiction. That is this dichotomy, and the subconscious mind has to work out and resolve that, because you're giving two different messages, therefore you're sabotaging your success. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying? So we have to make sure that there is a clear alignment between the beliefs that you're taking in through the subconscious mind, planting that seed, the embryo, the child, nurturing it to grow by constantly reinforcing that belief system, and also communicating on a daily basis the words and language patterns that reinforce that belief system that you've taken in. For example, let me give you one concept that on a day-to-day basis we forget, do not utilize, and it creates a world of problems in our lives. For example, we are all consciousness having an experience. There is no outside world. There is no stars up there. There are no buildings around me. It is all a projection of what's going on internally within me. I am creating all of this. So I am the all-seeing eye, consciousness, having an experience that I am falsely and erroneously labeling as an outside world, because there really is no outside. So when you talk in those terms, basically what you're doing is you are creating division where there is no division. You are separating things, you're labeling them and defining things that really are all one and come from within you. And that creates the problem, because, and let me show you really what I mean, is because if you believe that there are these things that are external and outside of you, then you must also accept the idea that you could have an enemy, and an enemy opposes you. But if you see things as one, and to see that you are connected to everything, and that what you perceive to be your enemy is really a manifestation of something that you are creating to further your development and further your understanding of who you are as all that there is, then you know that there really is no enemy, that everything serves to further. So nothing really can oppose you, but that you are just creating these things in this grand holographic scenario so you can have the experience. All right? So take that and marinate on that for a bit to really understand what I'm trying to say in terms of how these language patterns set us up. And a great example of this is when we talk about the creator. To use that term, the creator, automatically by logical definition and a thread of logic, we have to conclude that there is a beginning, middle, and end to the creator, because to create denotes to begin a process, or the creator itself is creating something or has been created. So if the creator is all that there is, and that it has no beginning, middle, or end, and has always existed, then we know that the definition, or excuse me, the title of creator is incorrect. In fact, we can say source, we can say all that there is, but to say the creator is, or even to call yourself a co-creator, is not entirely accurate. And also, given the fact that everything that exists or has existed or will exist already exists, so you're not really creating it, you're only vibrating to a certain frequency so that you can interact with it, so betrays that whole definition. So if you are accepting these correct definitions about how to create, what God or Source or Netaru is about, when you are aligning yourself with that truth, then your subconscious mind has worked out that dichotomy, and it opens the way to allow you to experience success. But when you are constantly feeding yourself these definitions that can't be reconciled, then it creates an energy blockage in the chakra centers of your body that won't allow you to have success. So then you go, woe is me, why am I not making more money, why am I having problems in my relationship, so on and so forth. So think about that, because the more we can use the correct terminology, the correct language patterns that align the subconscious or the spirit with our actual intentions that we are communicating on a daily basis, the more the way opens for our success. Another example is duality. Our ancient ancestors, the Egyptians, the Kemetic people, had no definition or did not use these terms that we use today to denote, for example, good and bad, or positive and negative, or night and day. They saw them as a whole component that was not separate and individualized. When we talk about yin and yang, we never think about that they're really one. They're not yin and or yang, but they are a whole piece that combined make one individual thing. So that's a really difficult concept, because we on this planet at this time have a real difficult time understanding duality, and understanding that there is no duality, that everything is a piece of the whole, and that it is essential and integrated in the whole and is necessary for it to operate. This is why we have division, this is why we have war, this is why I have these political uprisings. It's because we continually are labeling and defining things as external from us, as apart from us, as opposing one another, when in reality everything is an expression or a symbol of a grand metaphor, which is the metaphor of oneness of all that there is. So when we see people and they talk about the oneness of all things, the unity of all things, this is what we're talking about, because the individual things that we see around us are all just symbols. That is all. And they're not really separate and apart from us. They are nothing more than analogous to what is going on inside our subconscious mind and projections for us to interact with, so that we can better understand the experience that we're having. So, hey, that's all I got to say. Is for now, I'm trying to race to my next appointment, but I want you to just get that from this conversation. That's very important, how we structure our communication so that it can align us with truth, what's going on within us, so that that door to success can open, and that we can have unlimited power, which is rightfully ours. And this is Kasakma Keparu for Project Illuminated, and that's all for now.